There we go.
See, mine's always
I'm live in.
delayed.
There we go.
There it
We were
is.
pretty close to being synced up there.
I started early.
All right.
Hello.
It's premature.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, man.
Awesome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to So Here's the Thing with Jamie Vasey, the Mortgage Jedi.
Sandy Hare with the Hare Real Estate Collective at Remax Real Estate Center, and
Rebecca Walker at the Hare Collective at Remax Real Estate Center.
Rebecca's with us. Yay!
Special guest star.
The long-rumored Rebecca is returned.
the woman
For those of you
behind
who
the
remember,
curtain.
she was actually with us on one last year.
I was, yeah. We were talking
I think it was
about
a similar
new
time of year.
construction.
Yeah,
I think
we're talking about new
it
builds.
was a similar time of year.
It was.
Yeah. But here we are. We're going to do it again. It was so good the first time.
It was.
Now we're going to do it again.
I'm a special treat in small doses.
That's
Yes.
what I call you. That's the rumor I started.
So, talking about special treats in small doses, I was very, very happy today to pick up from our friends at Wellington Brewery. Where are we?
Yeah.
There we
The
go.
milk chocolate stout.
Jamie gets
Seasonal,
so excited.
only comes out at certain times of the year. Very happy to be having one right now.
I was gonna kick it old school because I'm having PTSD from 2016, 2017. So I wasn't gonna pick a new beer today. I was just gonna pull from my IPAs in the fridge. And then my wonderful friend Jamie Vasey brought me my favorite lady friend from Alora. We've done this one before.
We have.
It's my favorite, but we're kind of kicking it old school with the market right now. So this is fitting. It just fits.
It does.
I loved it in 2017-ish, 2016-ish.
Yeah.
I love it now.
It's just awesome.
It's
And
the same.
I am allergic to beer.
So,
We do have wine
but
in
we
our
still
office.
love her.
Yeah.
We are coming to you from our office here on Gordon at Remax Real Estate Center. We do
Yes.
have wine in our office, so there's that.
I'm going with the vodka sparkling pineapple mango.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say you're being healthy, but there's vodka in there.
Well, vodka's better, I think.
It
If
is.
you want to talk calories.
It's got water in it, which is something your body needs anyways.
It's fun potato juice.
It is. All right. So, if it seems like we've already had something to drink, it's not that we've had something to drink, it's that we've been going nonstop, I think, since the turn of the calendar. Would you say that's a fair assessment? Now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as part of that, Sandy spent many days in Florida
Well-
with Star Wars.
We could say it like it's a bad thing.
I did not.
No.
And my year definitely kicked off the day that the day before Sandy left.
If I'm not
So-
here, Rebecca's picking up the slack, and vice versa. And we could start there. Yeah. So I've actually had some great news today. Rebecca
Yes.
saw a grown woman cry today.
It's true.
But the
I confirm it.
I know. But we'll get to that. But we did go to Florida, Orlando. We went to Disney, and mostly what drew me there was the Star Wars. I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan from watching it on the balcony at the Odeon downtown. I love Star Wars and the First Order thing. I love it. And it was, if you're having a bad time in Disney, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you. Like, even my daughter, who has like real sensory issues, like visceral, like real life sensory issues, still had the best time. And we were there from like 6:30 a.m. to like 9 p.m. And she had a wonderful time.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think it's important to note that this was a real kind of dream come true for Sandy.
Huge.
She's really been
Huge.
wanting to take her whole family on holiday somewhere like Disney for a really long time.
10 years.
So it finally came together for her this
Yeah,
year.
it wasn't.
So,
It wasn't
yeah.
a. It wasn't a like. Oh, this is something we do all the time. This was
Yep.
the first time we've ever done anything like that.
Special
and
trip.
it was a special trip, and to share it with my mother-in-law as well was amazing. And to be able to share a Star Wars experience with my children was like, I cried when we got on the Millennium Falcon ride. Like, I openly wept. A grown woman.
See, I'm really happy for you that you had a chance to do all this, because I remember last year I was gushing at this time about going to spring training with my dad, right? So it's kind of this.
That's
it's
right.
kind of very
See,
similar
I was
thing.
gushing about you doing the
Yeah,
spring training. I
so-
get all fuzzy about that. And then the other good news I had today was that My Chemical Romance, who's my favorite band of all time, have announced that they are touring, and they are coming to Toronto on my birthday.
That is just so perfect.
I'm telling you, 10 years of commitment. I have 4 CDs in my car. 3 of them are My Chemical Romance, and one of them is Primus.
Do people still have CDs in their car?
I still have CDs in my car because I was a teenager in the 90s.
From a punk show that Sandy and I went to.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's
That
the
guy
only
was
CD.
totally 20.
So, So yeah,
Skipping
skipping over.
over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have nearly that kind of awesome, warm, fuzzy stuff to talk about.
Needed to
right
happen.
now
that holiday needed to happen for my family. It was great.
Yeah,
we
that's
worked really
awesome.
hard.
That's
We're both
really
self-employed, so it's something.
Yeah. And it feels good to be able to be in a place where you can take that step
Just
back.
to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if in the place, but we just did it.
You got me now.
I have Rebecca, and Rebecca was able to step in, which was great. But I will say, to echo what you were saying earlier, that I felt the coming storm before we left, and it was happening very early very late in December, early January. The rumbles started to happen, and I will say that while I was away, I definitely had like stomach aches and things like that, because I knew that the storm was coming down on Rebecca, like the early stages. And when the second, like literally the plane landed, I opened up my phone and it was like emails, come quote this, do that, listing presentation, It was, we've decided to buy this year, like, you know, I just literally looked at my partner and I was like, see you in June. Like it's going to be busy, and it is, and it has been. Rebecca and I have been working nonstop.
So here's the thing. It's wow, I just did it.
You named it.
So here's the thing. It has been active, and it's been awesome. And part of it is when you get the new year, there's a lot of people who say, hey, maybe this is the year we buy a house. So there's a lot of that.
So there is that.
Right?
Yeah,
and then there's people who you kind of spoke to last year, and they're like, okay, maybe we're in a place now. And so there's some of that as well, which is all good and all positive. And I think the one thing that I've noticed early on this year, first off, and we talked about this on one of our previous issues, there is no such thing as a buying season anymore. It used to be there was the spring market, there's the fall market, things like that.
No.
It's just constant, and you need to be prepared for that. We talked about educating yourself, because the people who are going to have the advantage in a busy market are going to be the ones who have confidence, and the confidence comes from being educated and being prepared.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Right? And doing your homework and knowing. There is nothing that is more powerful when you're going into a multi-offer situation than knowing what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
No, for sure.
And because there's a lot of people out there who aren't. They're being reactionary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And reactionary sometimes drives the market in a negative way. And it can cause you to get caught up in the emotion of everything. And you often talk about trading in real estate. You refer to it that way.
I do.
And we all understand there's an emotional component to buying your first house or moving or any of those things. But at the same time, it is very much a smart, strategical financial decision as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people who can take that step back or feel confident and feel prepared and say, yeah, this house was great. But if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're not being reactionary, where you're being kind of proactive or even out there early on so that you can seize opportunities when they come up, you're going to benefit the most.
And I think one of the important things is to really be able to take that knowledge throughout the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people start out asking a lot of questions and feeling informed, and some buyers especially make the mistake that they ask all those questions in the beginning, and then they feel like, okay, I've had my home buying seminar, that's it, I'm ready to go, and they just move on. And especially as you start to get caught up in the more emotional response, as you're saying, to like seeing the beautiful houses and picturing your family there and thinking about Christmas in your new home, a lot of buyers, first time and multiple buyers, they get caught up in that and they start to forget the sort of facts of the situation. And that's a lot of the time where Sandy and I step in, or have that conversation, like, okay, so when we started this, we were talking about these components A, B, and C. Are these still issues that are important to you, or have things changed a little bit, or are you willing to give a little to get what it is that you're saying now that you're looking for, and how far you're willing to go? So in order to really be able to jump on those situations, especially in multiple offers, which we will talk about shortly, to carry that knowledge and information throughout the process and not get entirely caught up.
The two most important pieces of conversation, or the two most important conversations that you have to have, Sandy's having technical difficulties.
Difficulties.
The two most important pieces of knowledge that you have to have when you start the process. There's two conversations. I'm going to wait till Sandy starts back up. Here we go.
So sorry.
Two important things. Two important conversations.
My computer is crap.
One
lately. If it does it again, go to Jamie Vasey's and I'll try and put it on my phone and we'll go from there.
So one is having a conversation with all parties involved in terms of who are the buyers. So you, your partner, whatever, about what are our needs. So a need is very different than a want. Mm-hmm. So if there's two of you and you're a young couple, you don't need 2 bathrooms. You don't need 3 bedrooms. Okay, you want 2 bathrooms or 3 bedrooms, but you don't need them. So what are the needs and then what are the wants? Because oftentimes, if you start with, we want to get a home, and then you start going out and looking at places, all of a sudden those conversations happen on the spot in those houses.
That's
about,
right.
oh, I like this kitchen. Really? Because I don't. Right? So those kinds of things, right? So having that conversation and having a clear idea of what are your needs and what are your wants, and making sure you're aligned on what's the importance to each person. The second thing is, what's your budget? This is a conversation you need to have either before you reach out to a Mortgage Jedi or right after we talk.
Yeah.
And the reason why your budget is important is because there are oftentimes ways of getting you approved for a mortgage, or you may get approved just on your own for a mortgage. But it doesn't necessarily mean... Are you chuckling because I just got a Harry Potter Wizards Unite update?
I'm sorry, Jamie. I couldn't help myself.
The nerd is strong in this office.
We know, right? Anyways, so...
Wait till I hang
back
my
to
Kylo Ren sword up there.
Yeah, no kidding.
I got my droid
sword
in here.
So, oh yeah, I thought you were going to bring the droid for this. Anyways, talking about your budget. Why this is important. Because oftentimes people will say, we can afford to pay this in a mortgage. But you have to then factor in, okay, what about your property taxes? Mm-hmm. What about any condo fees? Mm-hmm. Where does that fit into your budget? And why that's important is because sometimes you'll actually get approved for more mortgage than what you can actually feel comfortable affording.
Yep,
and you shouldn't feel pressured into having to go to your limit.
Right.
The other thing, and this was one that I really struggled with a little bit. A lot of times I hear people say, what if I get a cosigner? Cosigners can help you get approved for more. But cosigners don't help you pay for that difference.
Exactly.
Right? So a cosigner might help you get approved for an extra $100,000. Mm-hmm. And that might get you that home that you think you need but really only want. But the problem is that cosigner isn't making those extra $500 a month in payments.
That's right. Yeah.
So your budget is crucial, because even though a cosigner might help you get more, it doesn't mean it's the right thing for you to do.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, like, what you're basically talking about is managing your expectations. And so I talk to people about, I've done a lot of listing appointments in the last little while, and with my sellers and with our sellers, with our sellers, and I'm all up in there. I'm their problem.
The Wascally Wabbits?
The Wascally Wabbits. With sellers and with buyers, we're talking about managing expectations. I always say, like, it's hard as a real estate sales representative to ask people to come and meet you at your office because it sounds salesy. A lot of people have taken that opportunity to be like, sign here, do that. Yeah. I like to consult with people. I like to, especially if we meet online or you come through an open house and we've only met once, I like to know what your expectations are. Yeah, you're coming through my open house at $500,000 or $600,000 or whatever it is. Are you really approved for that, though? Like, I don't know these things, and it's not really any of my business when you're just coming through the open house, to be honest. Yep. Like, it's none of my business. But if we're going to sit down and we're going to decide to work together, then it becomes my business. I need to know how much you are actually approved for, not to exploit it, but... And then we need to know what you're approved for. Mm-hmm. What you're approved for, what you want to pay, what you actually want to pay, and then over here, what are your expectations? And how do I match your expectations up with what you want to pay? Do we have some wiggle room?
Yep.
Do we have the room to, okay, so you're 2 people and you insist on having 2 bathrooms. All right, but that means you may actually have to go outside of your budget. Is it worth it for you to do that? And then it's my job to go through and sift through what we find to decide how that matches. And then with sellers, that's it. That's a hard conversation. Like, because it's hard because you're going in blind. You're basically saying, like, we've had some pretty unique ones lately. You're going in and saying, like, oh, I always ask, like, where do you think the property falls in value? Like, where do you think? And oftentimes people are like, well, I don't know, because they want you to say and then compare you to other agents, and that's fine. But I like to give a range. I like to give a manageable and manage the expectations of the list. And that's early on.
And I think to kind of take that a step further, as Sandy generally works with our listings, and I generally work with our buyer clients. We are interchangeable, as Sandy likes to say. We're
interchangeable.
We're two sides of the same coin.
One time, Ken's gonna come home Ken's gonna be making dinner, and Rebecca's just gonna walk in and sit down at the table and be like, "Thanks for making dinner."
That's all right.
And then I'd be like, "Where's Sandy?" She'd be like, "I don't know," but I'm here now.
When I talk to buyers about this sort of thing, and Jamie might cringe at this, so I apologize in advance. I often tell them, we need to think of the purchase price in terms of what you've been approved for to make sure that you have a lender in place who is willing to give you the money to purchase the property.
It's important.
That part is very important. But other than that, you really only need to think of the purchase price for about 2 months from when you sign the paperwork to when you go and take the big scary check to the lawyer. And then after that, the purchase price is more or less irrelevant until it comes time to sell the home. After that, you're really looking at what your monthly cost is. And if you are in a position at some point in time where you can make an extra payment, if your situation allows for it and if your lender allows for it, if you want to make that extra payment once a year, or if you want to make a one-time balloon payment against the principal, if the terms and conditions allow for that, then you can think about it. But a lot of people get really fixated on that dollar amount on the offer, that purchase price that people talk about. And for practical terms, you don't need to think about that purchase price after you own the home.
That's true.
It's interesting. No, I don't cringe at all at that because I think it's absolutely true. And first off, yes, your mortgage partner, Mortgage Jedi, should have you partnered with some lender that allows, I would hope, 20% prepayment options, even though it's very rare that somebody will have 20% of the lump sum to put down, but at minimum 15%. So the way I kind of, I had a recent conversation with someone about a car, and I said, you may have to buy a car soon because you have 2 older cars, and I know you have all this money for a down payment, but if the need for a car arises, do you pay cash for it and have a lesser down payment, or do you take on the payments of a car each month? And so we had that conversation, and I said, well, paying for the car outright is always a smart plan because that car is going to depreciate in value immediately, right?
Every day
so,
even sitting on
but
the lot,
nobody thinks about what they paid for their car 5 years later when it's worth so much less. Whereas with your house, it's almost rare that it's not worth more.
It's an increasing value.
Right? Yeah, so it's an investment. So what you paid for your house, you're absolutely right. What you paid for your house, as long as it's within your budget and you're not house poor, doesn't matter. It's what's the value of your house going forward. That's of value. How much equity have I built? Well, because that's going to help me get to that next step.
That's right. Well, and that's where it comes to managing expectation. Like, we've had clients before that are like, we need to get into a detached home with a garage. We want it under this price. Everybody thinks that, because we pay rent and we pay this much in rent, so we know we can afford. We did it online, little calculator. We know we can afford this house. Show it to us. It's a mistake and it's a red flag, but really it's about managing the expectation. To be like, okay, well, how long do you plan on being in this house for one? And then really, like, another conversation that I like to have with my people that are going from renters, like, this is what changed my mind about home ownership, because I come from a long line of people that are not homeowners, like, they're renters for life, and what are your carrying costs for renting? Like, how much does it cost for you to rent every month? And then let's say you're living in a detached home, rental unit upstairs, rental unit downstairs, or triplex, whatever. Who's to say that, even though, let's say you're not paying, you're only paying, you're like, oh no, I got it in spades, I'm only paying $1,000 in rent and I rent the top of the house. My mother is currently in this situation. She pays very low rent for the top of a house. Well, at any moment, they're going to decide to sell that house because the value of the home is more than the renters in there, and it needs a renovation. That person, whoever buys it, is going to come in and say, "Get out, 71-year-old lady," and they're going to do it.
Like, and I'm now going to get $1,800.
And now I'm going to get $1,800. They're going to renovate it. They're going to do a massive renovation, and then they're going to get an $1,800 a month renter for a 3-bedroom top of a house on Victoria. Like, and the thing is, it's either part of your conversation now and you're in control of it, or it's part of your conversation later and you're not in control of it. When you feel the stress of it. I like to talk to people. I'd much rather start talking to you 3 years out from buying a house and have you be like, there's no way that we could ever buy a house. Like, I was like that. 3 years before I bought my house, Ken and I were like, I don't know if we're ever buying. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I
had a referral come my way and I reached out and they're like, well, I don't want to waste your time because I'm not ready to buy just yet. Okay. That's the best time to be talking to me.
That's the best time. We should be talking.
Because we need to develop a plan. That's perfect.
It's not like this. It doesn't happen like this. It doesn't happen like Home and Garden TV shows you. Oh, I'm going to take you out and show you 3 houses. Which one do you like? There's a good chance we're going to see like 50 or 60 houses
I'll tell
together.
you, I've been in real estate 7 years now.
Why don't you bring it, baby?
I'm just using it as an example. In 7 years, I have had one client who called me on a Saturday and said, "Are you available Monday? I need to buy a condo by Tuesday." We came, we saw 3 condos in the south end, and she bought one on Monday and moved into it 3 weeks later.
It's beautiful.
But that's one time in 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, but it doesn't happen very often. I've had it happen where like, we want to sell this one and buy another one, sell this condo, buy another. It's always condo. Yeah. Especially in Guelph, that's always condo.
Same.
Because, you tell me what you need. You want 3 bedrooms? Okay. Townhouse or apartment? Yeah. Apartment. Great. I need underground parking in 2 spaces. Okay, I have 2 buildings to show you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that's it.
I want to touch on that for a second.
No.
I don't know how condo became a dirty word in real estate.
I don't know. Condo is great.
Can we like?
I love condo.
The number of first-time buyers who say, "I don't want a condo," or "I don't want to pay condo fees."
Every one of them.
I have to tell you.
You have to say that anyway.
That's your parents talking.
Yes. That's your parents talking.
Because condo, you're putting money aside that you otherwise are going to have to pay at some point anyways.
That's right.
Those condo fees go to replacing the windows, replacing the doors, replacing the roof, and you have somebody else checking in on when they're needed.
Yep.
Whereas most homeowners don't stay on top of that, and it's, oh, crap, my roof is leaking, I need to replace it. Right? So it's... Yeah, well, no, it's like...
No, it's true.
It's very true.
On top of the
so you have somebody else
things.
who's maintaining the property value of that, so that when you sell, it's going to be worth more. And that's money that if you're not putting aside, if you're owning a freehold and you're not putting that money aside to take care of things when they pop up, then you're just going to get hit with like $5, $6, $7, $10,000
that's right.
costs. Right?
I think condo, there's a lot to unpack there. I think to hit on that point, the parents talking, I think there were, from my best understanding, I believe there was an issue. Oh, it's my sister Sheila.
Hello, Sheila.
Sheila. But to my best understanding, there was some issues with condo corps in Toronto that caused like a news wave or something like that, and people like in the 80s or people lost a lot of money, and there was a lot of lost respect or trust with condo, and then it kind of ripple effect,
But that's before the Condo Act came in.
I think it was before the Condo Act came in.
Because back then what would happen is they weren't told to do assessments regularly, and then all of a sudden everybody would be hit with these large sum assessments that they'd have to pay, as opposed to being proactive.
That's right.
Right? 99% of the condo corps out there are awesome at that.
Yes. Sorry, there's a bit of a soft touch issue with us.
I didn't mean to go down that street, but anyways, that was
Actually,
not geared at going down that path.
I'm not surprised the 3 of us are talking about condo right now.
No.
So there is mismanagement when it comes to condo. We will acknowledge the pink elephant in the room.
That was that.
Was that a direct jab at me?
I don't know.
That is Dusty Rose. Come on now.
I call it purple. But
Yeah, I was gonna say don't call it Dusty Rose because then she needs hunter green pants.
That's right.
I am a 90-year-old woman. I don't know if you know this about me.
I'm
Jamie.
surprised there's no brooch.
You know what?
No.
There was earlier.
Great.
So-
There's that. But no, I will say that
90-year-old
I
woman
think
who
that
power lifts.
they're out there. But I think that maybe our next video we should talk more about condo and condo corp.
Because
And really get people like just real familiar and submersed with condo. Condo's not a bad thing.
And maybe we invite people to like ask some questions and
About condo
and-
corps.
and
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
kind
I think
of-
that's a good idea.
Maybe if we have some people send some questions, we can put some stuff out on Instagram
Yeah.
and things like that, and have people input their questions about, you know, how does a condo core actually work? What is
Yeah.
the difference between condo and freehold?
I think
You
that's
know,
a good idea.
I think it's a
Yeah.
really
and,
good
and
idea.
I think even if we could toss in there, because we do have a couple of them in town, and this would be something that would be great for you to talk about, Jamie, is leasehold properties.
Leaseholds, yeah,
Oh,
leaseholds.
land leases.
Land leases. Land
Which is
leases
a
and mortgages is a
yeah.
whole Pandora's
Quagmire.
box.
It is.
Quagmire
It
is a good one.
But Guelph, unlike a lot of other municipalities and townships, actually does have several land lease areas
Yes.
around that have a lot of turnover and are really quite popular. So maybe that's something we can talk
Yeah,
about
land
next
lease
time
would be
too.
a good topic to talk about
Let's
because
do condo
there
next
are
time.
some condo's great.
Like condo
Just to
land
kind
lease.
of to
Bring it back.
put a little cherry
pin.
on top.
Yeah.
I did have a client who when I met with him, first time buyer, and he's like, I don't want to do a condo. I don't want to do a condo. And I asked why. And he goes, well, I've heard condos aren't a good idea. And I said, okay, so then I want to ask you this. When you look around and you see all of the new construction that's going on, what's being built?
Condo.
Those condos wouldn't be being built if there wasn't a market for them.
There's a market.
And if there was any kind of shady business going on, or
Yeah.
if there was, you know, a concern from the population at large, especially in the city of Guelph, the city of Guelph would not allow for those to be constructed. The city of Guelph has very, very
Pretty
well,
strict.
strictly managed growth management plans. So the city of Guelph, unlike some other areas around, has really put an emphasis on infill and on increased density.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the only ways to do that is with condos.
And tiny homes.
I have a theory on tiny homes and value.
So
as well.
we're going to start seeing tiny homes kind of come in the way condos.
I am your tiny house specialist, by the way.
Yeah.
I literally live in a tiny home.
We have a whole video series coming about the tiny home rebuild. That's going to be amazing.
So, but we should say this, that
We'll do that the time
realistically, if you're a first-time buyer, and I'm going to qualify first-time buyer as not just someone who's buying a home for the first time, like that mid-20 to mid-30 person.
Mm-hmm.
I also qualify first-time buyer as someone who's getting out of a relationship.
Yeah.
Who's
There's
getting
a
out of
bunch
a
of mortgage.
domestic relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I qualify you as a first-time buyer.
I would
And
think
now,
you
so does
downsizers.
the government.
Yay!
So now,
All my
yes, this is other big.
divorcees,
This is
put your
another
hands
big
up.
news.
All the single ladies.
I do have to say this. This was huge as of January 1st. If you are getting out of a relationship, if you're getting out of a relationship, a domestic partnership, a common law relationship, you are now allowed to use your RRSPs without tax penalty the same way a first-time buyer can.
What?
And that includes if you're using them for a spousal buyout of your current home.
I love it.
It's about time.
Hallelujah, 2020.
And all
Yes.
of my teacher friends out there, I know there's a lot of you out there, and I'm particularly pointing at you because most of you are savvy investors and do
Yes.
have those RRSPs in place.
Yes.
This is a really, really, really great thing for you to capitalize on if you find yourself in the situation where you are in a split.
So here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
We do this a lot. Here's the thing. There are people that would love to leave their domestic relationship. I'm not me. I love Ken. Ken, I love you. You're the best. I'm not.
I love Ken.
Who
Kind
doesn't?
You can have him. No, I'm joking.
Wait.
No, I love him. But there
Wait,
are
if you
people-
love Ken, why were you trying to convince him to hold his little keychain up here and unlock the door?
Because it works.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't-
yeah, that's
That was
you.
me.
That's a Rebecca Walker thing.
Nick?
The keychain thing. Anyways, I'm saying that I know people, and I have spoken with people that it's almost like you're financially locked in, and there's this like scariness about owning a home together and not being able to purchase something, not having the down payment. Even if they sell their house and pay off all the debts they need to pay off, they won't have enough of a down payment to have the home to provide for the children that they have. So now, like, I just feel like it's like permission granted to have to live your best life, and even and two people can be great people and not be good together, and that's okay, you know. Like, I come from a long line of divorce, so there's a lot of therapy involved here in that conversation. But I really love that the government, like, that is fine. That RSP.
I think I'm 3 away from a free coffee.
Hey.
Never married.
I wish
Never married. Only one
I'm
in the room.
high-fiving that one. I wish breweries had little stamp cards for divorcees to be like, on your third divorce, get a free like growler.
I will.
Keg.
I will also point out too that one thing I've had a couple of people come to me recently who are finding themselves in this situation where a relationship is dissolving.
Sure.
Is that you can actually purchase a home as long as your separation agreement is signed. You don't actually have to be divorced. You do not have to be legally
Separation
divorced.
agreement.
Your separation agreement has to be signed. I actually have written an offer that was conditional upon the separation agreement being signed. So don't feel like you have to wait for everything to be settled.
Yeah.
You can, in fact, start the process earlier than what some people think. And for some people, that provides a lot of comfort as well, being able to actually have their own space and have their own place away from a potentially not great environment.
I just love the idea, men, women, whatever, however you identify. I just love the idea of
Her, him, they.
like supporting the idea of that they can use what they have already sustained for themselves to move forward with their lives. Because again, coming from a long line of divorced families or separated families, that is the kick in the pants, and it's great. I am so happy about this change. Like, I was ecstatic on the inside. Good feelings when I heard about that.
I was so happy to hear it because
we work with divorce a lot.
Well, it is a reality.
Yeah, it's a reality.
Like,
we
it
work
is
with
such a
separation and
reality.
divorce all the time. It's always like this. Like, I'm calling you because we're separating. And it's like, there's no shame in it. Like, that happens.
Not at all.
It's nothing. There's no shame in it. I understand it's a sore spot, and but I'm so glad there's like a financial setup behind it now. Like, it almost, there's this weird like, we got to sever everything, and it almost becomes like so daunting that people put themselves in crappy situations for the rest of their lives. Like, it's so great.
I think too, as you're saying, people call us and they're sometimes hesitant to say like, well, it's happening.
Here's my situation.
Honestly, in this business, and Jamie, I'm sure for you as well, that we're always working with people who are in transition in their life in some way. Whether it's a marriage, a baby, a divorce, a job move, a job loss sometimes, a death in the family, estates, all of that kind of stuff. There's
new jobs, new jobs, higher pay. Yeah, we know we can buy a new house by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. And so we're always working with people who are in transition, and we know that this is a key aspect to that transition that's happening in your life. And we want to make sure that we facilitate the move as best as possible to deload some of the stress from the other parts of your life that are currently happening that we understand and know to be stressful as well.
Yep.
So don't ever feel like that's an awkward conversation to have. We're very comfortable with those situations. We work with them constantly. We are empathetic and sympathetic to it, and we know how to facilitate that transition for you.
I think we're touching on an interesting point here because our industry is somewhat, if you take a look at how quickly things move in today's day and age, our industries are somewhat archaic.
Yes.
In their foundations. Like, the way things are done are still very much the way things were done 10, 15, whatever. There are slight changes and tweaks to rules and things like that, but they're still very archaic in the process.
Yeah.
And life doesn't work that way anymore, right? And so that's, the one saying I saw recently that really captured it for me was, different is better than better.
Yeah.
Because if I was to just look at how someone else is doing it and say, I want to do it like that but better, well, I'm not necessarily I'm not really doing anything different, and that's not creating a comfort level or a change for a world that's completely different.
Yeah.
So, we talk about separations, ends of relationships, things like that. I mean, I've had a couple situations where that's happening because the world has finally caught up to how that person feels as an individual.
Yeah.
Where the traditional relationship doesn't fit how they feel as an individual, or how they identify, or any of those things. So working with individuals who understand that you're an individual becomes, I think, almost like a safe place that you can say, okay, I don't need to do this the way the industry says it should be done. I need to do it in a way that's right for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have people who you're working with or you're talking with who are saying, well, you have to do it this way. No, you don't. You have to do it in the way that's right for you. And if the people who you're talking with, wow, that computer is really not liking you today.
It's not liking you.
Then those aren't the right people for you to be around in general.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And so, and I think there's huge value in that message, in the fact that ultimately the real estate process and the mortgage process should be dictated by you.
100%.
It's your purchase.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's your life.
If I, as a mortgage Jedi, sat there and said to you, okay, here's the best mortgage for you, and you don't ask me why, or I didn't ask you enough questions, I shouldn't be doing that. I should always be saying, here are 3 options.
Yeah.
Which suits you best?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not doing that, if they're just saying here, then you're not feeling like you're in control. And that's when you get things like feeling uneasy about purchase price, or feeling uneasy about interest rate, or feeling uneasy about other things. Right? You should feel like you're in control every step of the way, even if you don't have the knowledge. We have the knowledge, but you're still in control.
We always say that about referral too, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense for me. It's mutually beneficial
What up,
for
Judo
us to make the process more about you, because
Absolutely.
if it's not my house, I'm not buying it. But I'm going to help guide you through the process.
Right.
And you need to be happy. If you're happy, there's a good chance you're going to refer your mom or your sister or your brother. But also you're going to trust that I'm going to take care of you as we move along. And then it's my job to stay in touch and take care of your needs as we go along here, real estate-wise. And be there for you I get calls all the time. Should I do this? Should I do that?
Yeah.
I'm renovating the house. Do I have to do this to make that? And that's how I know. That's like a dipstick, like that. I knew that my clients were treated well because they're calling me being like, tell me not to cut open that window, Sandy. Like,
yeah. I got a call from a client once asking me what fridge he should buy.
Yeah.
That's
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I get people that call me literally from like they're picking out new finishes for their kitchen renovation, and they're like, black tops or white? Black tops or white?
But you're always going to say black.
I'm always going to say black tops.
Well,
Why are you calling me? Leather finish, black
leather.
tops with gold flecks.
And here's the thing. Oh, hey, look, I did it.
There it is. Yay! It's a hat trick.
But
Yay!
here's the thing. That is this a drinking game?
She's like so
Here's
proud
the
of
thing.
herself. I actually said that. It is.
Drinking game now.
It is a drinking
game
game.
now.
That, and whether or not Sandy swears before the 1 hour mark.
Oh.
Fair. But really though, here's the
so
thing.
much pressure.
Is that it's your purchase, and I've always said to my clients, you have to be comfortable not just physically in terms of safety and, you know, how you feel about the vibe of the home and things like that, but you also have to, you know, feel good emotionally, financially, physically, mentally.
Yep.
You have to feel comfortable and good about your purchase, and only you can decide that. We can show you the homes, we can give you the kind of the pros and cons. Jamie can show you all of the different mortgages and the different terms and conditions, and talk about what's best, you know, and what suits you best till he's blue in the face. But at the end of the day,
get red.
yeah,
Glossy.
but at the end of the day,
Look at all this matte finish. Sorry,
maybe it's
Shiny.
but at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's your purchase, and you know it has to feel right to you.
Feel right.
We've had clients that have, you know, come close to even putting pen to paper on an offer, and then said, you know what, like this doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is, and they apologize profusely. It's like there's something just not clicking right. There's something that doesn't feel right, you know, in my gut. Then it's not the home for you. Let's go. Let's look at the next one, and that's not a problem for us. That's never a problem for us.
And I think there's a lot to unpack there as well. Like I think there's so many, and I think because we've recently had meetings with buying clients to help them understand, especially first time buyers, to help them understand the process. The variables are constantly moving.
Yeah.
You know, how are you approved? What are you approved for? Who are you approved with? Type of house, where, broad spectrum, closed spectrum, rural, wells, septic, finishes of the home, age of the home, how many times it's been rent out, condition of the home, seller's motivation, buyer's motivation. The variables are just, there's too many to name.
You're going to stab me with those nails.
They're pretty impressive.
I know, they're intense, right?
Sinister nails, always. But our job is to take the pieces that as we go along and put them together, and then create the train that gets you through to this depot of purchasing that home. You know, like we're just picking them out of the air, you know, and then but it all comes down to just consulting, you know, and just being with the person. This job we're doing a video, but this job will never be this process will never be an online purchase process.
No.
And that's my total prediction. Like, and mortgages
possible.
as well.
No.
It's not, like the AI for this would have to be so human that we might as well bow down to our overlords. It's so deeply human, this process. And I think that if you try to make this a sales process, you're dead in the water. Like this is
Amazon is never going to take over house sales,
but they do sell Pineapple Crush.
So you're right. This should never feel transactional.
It should never.
And
because it doesn't for us.
And there are certainly people out there in both sides of our industry that treat it transactionally.
Sure, and they do well.
And they do a good job for their clients.
And they do a good job. And there's people that love that. There's actually people that like that.
But
so there's that.
So I'm going to touch on something that I get asked a lot in this, and or I get asked to explain a lot, and that's, you know, why would I go to a broker instead of a bank?
Okay, yeah, we
were talking about this, and if you go to my website, mortgagejedi.ca, there is a video there called the Jedi Advantage that talks a little bit about it, but it. Oftentimes, if you go to different mortgage websites, they characterize this as brokers versus banks. And that's not a good characterization because I deal with banks. Mm-hmm. Some of my lending partners are banks, and there are times where they have the right solution for the client. But the difference is if you're dealing with a broker versus walking into your bank. And here's the key difference that doesn't get talked about. A bank is offering you a product. Okay, they're offering you a mortgage that they make money on. They make money on the interest each month as they collect it. And they hope it leads to other products, such as lines of credit, credit cards, that they also make money on. Right? So they're offering you a product. A broker offers you a service. Mm-hmm. Okay, a broker deals with, in my case, over 35 different lenders and takes a look at the smorgasbord of different offers. I think I made Rebecca chuckle the other day at an open house when I said, well, do you want to go to a restaurant that has 6 things on the menu, or do you want Mandarin? right? And it's like that's
College
quite literally
ball.
that what it is. You have all these different options, and so the equivalent is and when you think of it as being offered a service, that's quite literally how it should be treated. It's not just about getting you the mortgage. It's about what happens after that too.
Yeah.
The after service. Are they, is your partner or your Jedi, are they staying on top of things, making sure you're paying as little money as you need to, offering you opportunities when they present themselves, all those things. I digress. The best way to explain it is, if you were saying I'm going to take a vacation and go to Orlando, I'm going to say to you, okay,
or France.
Name me 6 hotels in Orlando that you can stay at.
Okay.
And a lot of people will go, well, I'll just go to hotels.com. That's what I am.
That's
I'm hotels.com.
That's me.
Right?
I'm hotels.com, but for
Right.
mortgages.
Exactly.
I'm going to take that
So-
beer off your hands.
There you go.
It's been too long.
So, and that's my service. I take a look at, you give me the parameters, I take a look at the options and say, here's option A, B, C, and D, and you look through them and say, oh, I like this one best. Right? And that's what you don't get
See that?
if you go, wow.
I have long nails.
You
see
have
how-
long nails.
One
I can't
hand.
do that.
Like,
I can't.
one hand.
I have
Yeah.
little nails.
Sandy loves beer and cans.
That's awesome.
It's a Life in the Clouds. Life in the Clouds. Collective Arts, one of my favorites. Look at that.
Can I tell you the funniest thing I saw at an open house?
Obviously.
Was it Rebecca?
No. And the realtor's not watching, so I don't have to.
Says you now.
I know.
I was at an open house. Price point was $915,000. Beautiful house. Beautiful house. It
Well
is-
priced?
I think it was
Maybe
maybe
just
a little on the upper end.
the meat.
No, I would. I'm not a realtor, so I can't necessarily say.
Wow.
I will say
Ooh.
what.
That sounds like a bit of a cop out.
No.
Dive
What I
there.
will tell you is it had a beautiful basement that could easily have been set up as a separate in-law suite
Sure.
or a rental.
Okay.
That's the
Like
Ooh,
full
not really
size,
realtor.
really nice laid
You
out.
should go
Right?
Sandy Hare.
That was really that
Yeah.
was to me that was the
Alright.
beauty of it.
What was funny that
But-
you saw?
Oftentimes, if you go to open houses, and as you know, I love to go to open houses.
He does.
You do see things like
That's how we met.
people will have, I don't know, some have Timbits, some have sandwiches, some have cookies.
Not this
some
guy.
Have, no,
I have jokes.
you have jokes. But $915,000 open house, Swedish berries with individual toothpicks in them.
Was it my open house?
No.
Who doesn't love a Swedish berry?
Sour
That's
kids.
still-
We may still have sour kids.
We do.
Like,
I looked at that and I went, I don't think that's what I expected.
Well, this is going to be like segue.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the craziness of Kitchener.
oh yeah,
Oh,
so
I
we're
love
gonna. So
craziness of Kitchener.
I do have a list. I did post a list on Instagram stories. Just so you know, I do post on Instagram stories. Please send us your questions, and Jamie as well.
Yeah.
And you can send us your questions anytime, like
Absolutely.
anytime, and then we'll bring them up on here. We're always talking about what's happening in the current market. So this is kind of where we're leading to right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that what we've talked about before this was like there's like an urgency to speak to people, new buyers, new sellers, new like all of these things. Like this is where we are currently at in our year here, with this whole consulting. I feel like I'm in constant consult.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
calling, and letters. Like today, even I swear to God, my computer is the devil, and I need to get a new one. Dottie threw up on it. That's what happened.
Dottie's her daughter.
Dottie is my daughter.
Dottie is our dark overlord.
All hail Zod.
All hail
But she threw up on my computer. It works for now.
But
Anyway, so we are gonna I do really want to get to what you're talking about. We need to talk about what's happening in the market right now. I'm having serious PTSD.
it's very, very 2016, 2017.
Yes.
I know.
I know. It's great for business, but it's scary.
No.
It's scary. I
horrifying.
mean, you're in the trenches. It's terrifying. Remember 3-day financing conditions, Jamie
So-
Vasey?
Don't even talk to me about it.
Yeah,
So no, I
did
do want to
20
talk about that. No,
You
no.
need to
24
get our
hours.
things now.
Listen, I do want to talk about
Yesterday.
that because all right. So it's 2016 all over again. So what does
wait,
that?
wait. What does
Go
that
ahead.
mean? What
Mhm.
just
Okay,
for
so-
anybody who isn't avid real estate junkies.
So in 2016, the bubble just expanded.
It's not a bubble because it never burst.
Well, no, I guess it's not even a bubble.
Prices went a little crazy.
A little crazy. The
and
interest.
for the record, I bought my house in 2016.
I bought my house in 2016 too,
All right,
and it's still
so-
under value.
Yeah. Word up, me too.
So it's possible. I'm not discouraging you. I'm not trying to discourage people, but there seems to be a urgency to list and to purchase. So we have done so many listing presentations in the last little while.
And the urgency to purchase is.
I don't even know what to do here. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know what to tell people. I'm like, I would love to tell you that this house is this price, but I'm telling you right now what I'm seeing coming up on our sales board. It's just like I love when houses in my neighborhood sell for what I thought my house was worth, and it's not even close to my house. But I'm telling you that it's like there's an urgency. Houses, like, if you don't hold off offers even for like even just 5 days.
So
Thursday
for
to
example,
Tuesday, like, they're gone. It's gone. It's gone. See you later.
For example,
There's urgency.
yesterday afternoon, I saw a condo come up here in town that was perfect. It's in a building
Yeah.
one of my clients loves. They have a tenant in that particular unit right now, so they need a 24-hour notice for showing. Absolutely, we will respect that. So I booked the showing and got my client in later this afternoon. By the time I got my client in, by respecting that 24-hour showing, it had already sold conditionally.
Yeah.
So
it's a little crazy.
here's it's odd because 2016. The way I summarized the real estate market, not being a realtor, was you listed a property on Thursday, you had open houses that weekend, you held offers on the Tuesday and got 50,000 over asking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? That was 2016. And usually there was about 12 offers.
Yep.
That directly caused the benchmark qualifying rate to come into play.
Oh. Okay.
Because
Okay.
2016 was the direct
Yeah,
was
I remember that.
The result of 2016 was the benchmark qualifying rate coming in.
Okay.
Why? Because so many people at that time you were qualifying against your contract rate, which was low twos. So what you can afford at 2% or 2.5% interest rate is a lot different than what you can afford at 5.19, which is the current benchmark rate.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were getting more house than what they could really afford. Our household debt levels were going so high, like they're still at 155 to 160% of your annual income. So everybody was
We were just talking about that.
getting
Yeah, we were.
getting more house than what they could afford.
We're nerds.
Then they were being offered all kinds of credit cards and lines of credit, which made no sense.
Not me.
Running those things up, consolidating them into their mortgage. Their mortgage was now worth more than what they originally paid for the house, but it's okay because the house went up 20% in value.
Right.
That's what resulted in the benchmark qualifying rate, because they said if our economy ever gets to a point of where interest rates start going up, these people are screwed.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, those people, you're lucky because your renewals are coming up and your rates have only gone up to about 3%. So
It's actually really good.
it's very good, considering our parents would have loved anything single digit.
We're gonna touch on that
So-
later.
So
But yeah.
that's what resulted in the benchmark qualifying rate. But it's still there. So how we all of a sudden got back to that same type of behavior?
I don't know. It's chaos.
So
It's
it's
chaos right now.
I will say this though, that we are seeing the craziness a little bit more on the periphery of where Sandy and I work right now.
Mhm.
So we are seeing this further into Kitchener,
Mhm.
especially Waterloo a little bit less so. Cambridge
Cambridge.
is seeing it a lot right now. Guelph a little bit less so, but you're also seeing it again north of here. You're starting to see it into the Fergus Elora
Fergus Elora area.
Yeah, Fergus Elora area.
Woodstock. It's
Woodstock.
pushing down. It's pushing west.
It's definitely pushing west. So, for example, I was going through some of the sold pendings today, which means that they're firm sales. And in Kitchener, of the 20-something pending sales for the last 2 days, there was 6 of them that were not well over asking.
Yeah. So
you know what? So sorry, Jamie.
Go ahead.
But I will also say that I did look at the sales today in Guelph, the sold
Yep.
pending sales.
Yep.
A lot of things are selling over asking.
They
And
are.
I think Guelph is a little bit more savvy, and I think Guelph is a
Yes.
little bit more savvy of a realtor in this town, and that's giving a lot of cushion.
And you are
For a lot of
seeing
people.
but conditions on those offers.
So so Guelph, we do still see. I think we have this is just me. This is just my opinion. I think we have savvier realtors in Guelph, buying agents and selling agents. That selling agents, we know that Guelph is desirable for different reasons other than price point. It's aesthetically better. It's got a different energy about it. But I feel like when you're at a certain price point, I just feel like holding off offers for a couple days is just do
Absolutely.
it. Just get butts through the door.
Well,
But I feel like in Guelph you have a savvier realtor about that. But what I'm noticing is that when things do sell, they are selling over asking.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Guelph agents, again, the savviness, are often listing at asking at what the value is. There's a real pressure on value in Guelph.
there is. One thing that I will say, though, that I reiterate to our buyers, all the time.
It's fun.
All the time.
You can say
Is
you.
that-
I support you.
is that a house is worth exactly what somebody is willing to pay for it.
You're the market. Buyers are the market.
Right? So when people come to us and say, like...
unless you ask an
like,
appraiser.
well, yeah, but if a buyer comes to us and says, was that house really worth that? It's like, it obviously was for
It
that
was
person.
for them. Like
Yeah.
that person
for,
was
for
willing.
whatever their motivations were and whatever their needs were, that was the house for them, that they were willing to extend themselves to that point.
As
Wait.
long as the banks say the appraiser, like
Yep.
again to touch on
Yep.
that again. As long as
So-
the appraiser says it's cool. Yeah.
But there are situations where, a house might be fantastic, and there was a house in Kitchener today that I saw that sold for $92,000 over asking. And it was...
Few houses are worth. When you see 92,000 over asking, one of two things comes to mind.
Undervalued.
Either it was priced wrong,
Yeah.
or somebody overpaid.
Or some.
So
I think-
here's the thing.
I think
It
it's
was
always a
in
50-50.
it was a nice house. It was an older home in downtown Kitchener. But it was unremarkable. And I think
Unremarkable is a good word.
it's not like that house or the feel of that house could not have been found elsewhere.
Yes.
It's a nice way of saying cookie cutter.
No. It
No,
was
no.
older.
It's
It was
just saying
older.
that had you looked.
No.
Oh, hey, I'm at the gym.
Hi, Amanda. Go get it, Amanda. Go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So
Lift those weights.
I'm finding I am absolutely with you. From a guy that sounds like he totally.
I have to tell you, I signed up to
do.
do the beer run that's on the Sunday of the May 2-4 weekend.
Nice,
There you go.
nice.
So I'm gearing up for that. So I decided to practice by starting by running 2 kilometers the other day.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
And it was
Yeah.
great until I stepped off the treadmill. My legs went, ah.
I'll sit in a brewery somewhere and drink beer and
Yes.
watch her Instagram posts.
So
about it.
it's going to be fun.
But I'm with you though. Like there seems to be an urgency on the perimeter of Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
There is an urgency within Guelph, so I know that like Rogers Road,
Yeah.
it recently got plentiful offers, like 10
Yeah.
plus offers. When we went through it, I went through it with clients. It seemed like it was priced well because of the datedness of it. I'm glad that they held off offers. Against very smart, and I said that to my clients. I was like, very smart to do so. I would do the same for your house if we were pricing it here. There's a certain threshold for Guelph, right? If anything's listed under 400,000, under 450 even,
Yeah.
I would say you should be holding off offers. Anything
Yeah.
under
And
500,000, like
buyers
to be honest.
should not be afraid of them holding off offers.
No.
A lot of buyers are like, oh, I don't want to get into a bidding war.
Don't worry about that. Like it's
Multiple offers is not a bidding war.
That's
and
not-
holding offers
Yeah.
is not generating a bidding war. That's not what
not what it is.
we're doing.
yeah.
We're providing people the opportunity to even get through a unit or a home.
Yeah.
You know, for example, this place that sold today, like, he's a colleague of ours and he did really well for his client. That's clearly exactly what they wanted. You know, awesome. High fives, do it. But I can't imagine that there were many people who got a chance to even look at the unit. It provides people an opportunity to see what is available in the market at the price point that they're looking at, if for no other reason than to compare.
And the thing is that it's all about, and again, this comes back to, as we're talking to ourselves, this comes back to what is right for you.
Yeah.
Like, I always recommend,
what do you have the stomach for?
I recommend list on a certain date, hold offers to a certain date, new kid on the block. Like, I'm all about that. And then, you know, like, and condense time period, because butts through the door is how we sell houses, you know, and then facilitating that is how we sell houses. You can walk away.
Yeah.
You know, it was done. And in any market, I feel like that is a good formula, you know?
So I do want to talk about it from a mortgage standpoint to address a couple things. First off, you're right. It does go back to what we talked about at the very beginning. If you do your homework and you are confident in what you're capable of, you shouldn't be worried about multiple offers, because you know what you're willing to offer for that place. And if you don't get it for that, then it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't
you're
meant
fine.
to be.
From
The
a
next
mortgage
house is around the
standpoint,
corner.
from a mortgage standpoint, there's two things. One, if something goes over selling, or if I offer over asking price, what impact could that have on my mortgage approval?
Yeah.
So I actually had this question earlier today, and I said, what it comes down to is what an appraiser will say. So if you offer $30,000 over asking, and the appraiser comes in and says, it's worth about $10,000 over what their asking price was, you are required to make up that difference, right? It'll impact the loan to value. So as long as you're prepared to do that, you have nothing to worry about. The second thing is, oftentimes when we get into these environments, that's when people start thinking, ooh, maybe I should put in no conditions on my offer. Again, slippery slope.
Jimmy
But
loves that.
if you've done your homework, you should be able to feel confident in that decision. And if you're willing to live with the consequences of that decision and what it could mean, you know.
Well, and I think
I don't think any of us would ever condone
I don't condone it.
going in without conditions, but it's something that don't feel pressured into doing, so to speak. That's the best way to put it.
I think that comes from the good conversations you have with your mortgage person or with your inspector, or doing pre-inspections. Like, that was a thing in 2016, 2017.
It's going to be a thing more.
It's going to be a thing more again. So, Mikey Lee, I'm sorry. But, like, pre-inspections are very important. And then and you may not get the house. You may have to think about having an extra, like, $1,000, $2,000 on hand to do pre-inspections for houses that you may never buy, but at least you knew. But also it comes from having a mortgage broker that is willing to talk to you about what your risks are and what you could do to possibly make yourself more desirable and still get your financing condition. Or a Jedi, sorry, mortgage Jedi. But for us, like, I remember in 2016, 2017, my whole thing was a letter, like letters and short conditions, because at least then it showed that we were having a conversation. We were entrenched with mortgage brokers at that time.
Big deposits,
you know, like
too.
big deposits. Big deposits, letter, and just give us 3 days. Like, I feel like Guelph is a little better for that, as opposed to KW, Cambridge. Not that they don't have great agents out there, they do, but I find that it's a little bit more Wild Westy about that kind of thing.
Well,
like, it's a little. They didn't get it quite as much.
They didn't
as, like,
do 2016 the way Guelph did 2016.
We got
we have the PTSD.
like I have like some when I came back from Orlando, I honestly was
Throw that
like,
in there again.
I went to Florida, guys. I vacation now. But when I came back, I seriously was like, I think I need to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm watching the hot sheet, and I'm talking to people are calling me, people are emailing me, and I'm like, I think I need to see a therapist. Can you put an offer in? Does it have to be conditional?
Can we put in an offer before we see it?
Yeah. Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so two things. One,
Yeah, I did
let's
that
not
too.
condition the needing to see a therapist just on the emails. Second,
If Rebecca needed to see it, Rebecca is the one that needs to see a therapist in this relationship with a 10, 15 phone calls.
Now, I want to tell you how lenders are starting to adjust to this. More and more lenders are asking for documents up front before they'll give an approval.
I think it's a great idea because
It's a brilliant idea.
It's a brilliant idea. I feel like we have the MLS sheet. I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I can send you the MLS sheet and be like, we're thinking about putting an offer in at X.
Yeah.
Does your lender think that this would be a good number?
But it's not even so much that, because we won't know that. Oftentimes it requires an appraisal, and sometimes it's the insurer, not the lender.
Sure.
Right? There's an extra layer there. But
Still that PTSD.
yes.
Those insurers.
Ugh.
So, on top
Move into the vodka next.
But
so
what
here's
they-
the thing.
she's
the
already got it.
Tequila edition.
shots. Jello shooter, here's the thing. Oh.
Jaeger bomb night.
No, not doing it.
Guys,
So-
come on now.
So what they're doing though is they're asking for proof of employment. So they're asking for your letters of employment, your
Yeah.
pay stubs, and your past 2 years tax returns.
Yeah.
They're asking for proof of down payment up front.
Yeah.
They're asking for a copy of the purchase and sale agreement.
Yeah.
So all of those things, we have lenders who are specifically saying, if you want me to look at this and tell you whether or not we can approve it, give me all those things now. You know, there are some lenders who still don't. There are some who say, let's just satisfy these conditions 10 days prior to closing. There are others who are saying, no, just get it all up front and get it to me. And you know what? You should be doing that anyways, I think.
I'm a firm believer, and like we talked about this when we started putting this team together here and moved to Remax, was that I'm all about handing off paperwork super early. Like I'm like, okay, lender, lawyer, here we go. Like just send them the preliminary paperwork because anytime we can get that ball rolling and flags can be thrown up, it's manageable early on, as opposed to being like, oh, we're like 6 weeks ago.
I have underwriters who are sick of hearing from me because I'm like, can you please let me know if we're broker complete on this one? And they're like, dude, it's like 6 weeks away. I'm like, I don't care. Let me know. And they're like, but I've got all these. I don't care. Let me know.
I'm super uptight about it. But I think that I just really feel like that the adjusting, and so like just like our businesses, like as brokers, not necessarily lenders, as realtors or sales people, I really feel like we're moving to this consultant business. I really I feel like that it needs to evolve again, like you were saying, like it's in the darkness, it's in like caveman stages of.
We were only allowed to do electronic signatures 2 years ago.
Oh my
now?
God, electronic
I still have lenders who won't.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, we have clients that won't too.
We have clients that won't as
I have
well.
some lenders who don't they need ink on paper.
I have to drive to Niagara to get paperwork if this all works out, but it is what it is. But the like electronic signature is valid, guys. Like, just so you know, it's a good thing. There's a document. It records everything. If you need to see the timeline sheet, I have that for you. But it's too bad. But I think that as it evolves, it becomes more and more.
Nothing creepy there, James.
There's nothing creepy.
No, I'm just looking to see what Amanda said.
Oh, but he's
Agrees about the documents.
agrees about the documents. Well, agrees about the stuff we were saying before.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I feel like this business needs to evolve that way. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was days on market.
Yeah.
So I feel like we went so again to talk about the darkness of 2016. We went like, I remember when I first started in the business, it was more like early 2016, 2015. Longer days on market, so it was like
26 to 31.
a little bit there, and then all of a sudden it just condensed.
Yeah.
It was like 12 days on market, 10 days on market, 6 days on market,
And that's an
3
average.
days on market, and that's an
including-
average.
That's including like those rural properties that sit around for months
Holy
and months
shit!
at a time.
Like it. I swore.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, and I don't have a time on mine, and yours kept cutting out.
So it's but we started at 8. We started like 8:03.
Oh wow, she made it an hour.
Wow,
Awesome.
I made it.
But the days on market are starting to condense again.
It's starting to condense again.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this to scare people again. Like, you are valid and you deserve to get in the market, and there are ways to make it happen, as we've talked about before. But there's an urgency. Don't set your timelines way out into the future right now. Don't think, oh, we'll see it on the weekend at an open house. There's a good chance it's gone.
Yeah.
There's a good chance it's gone now.
Well, there's a
Unless
days
they're
on
holding
market
offers.
delta.
Unless they're holding off offers. And I did it again. As listing agents, hold the offers. I have people.
As
There's-
buying agents,
People.
please
Hold
hold
the
offers.
offers.
Let me get my people through
Offers.
your door.
There's a days on market delta.
It's
So
fair
there's a
now.
price point by which everything below a certain price point,
Yeah.
really short days on market.
Yeah.
Everything above a certain price point, it takes a really specific buyer. If you're in
Oh,
that
yeah, for
700, if you're at the 700,000 and up,
Oh, I would even say 6.
6 and up.
I would say 6.
Okay, so 6 and up. That's fair. 6 and up. There's still generally speaking, 6 and up isn't somebody moving up within their community. It's somebody
No.
coming from the GTA this way.
I would say that it's also somebody moving from something to something. So I
It's
know,
not a first-time buyer.
I know
Right.
my house.
So in
will be
Waterloo,
worth
it's like somebody who got a job at Google.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's somebody like my house, for instance, is a very earthy kind of Guelph neighborhood. I will say that it's somebody that's living in a condo in Guelph, like townhouse or something like that, and they've been dreaming about, like, I live on a double cul-de-sac. Like,
Right.
Like somebody that's been dreaming about having a big lot the dog could take poops in. I call it the dog's toilet now. That's what I call it.
I'm paying somebody in the spring.
Um,
Anybody knows somebody who picks up dog food?
There is
you.
actually services.
But somebody that wants the big lot, somebody who wants the spread out house, but
Bungalows.
but mine's a side split.
No, but
I
I'm
love a
saying
side split.
bungalows are that's that
Bungalows
thing that
have always been a thing in Guelph. It's like slice and butter in Guelph. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
have a bungalow, we can sell it.
Yeah.
like
We can
it's
sell
it's
that.
going to be anywhere, right? There's going to be people who want to get rid of stairs. And
I
so,
think so.
you're always going to have, regardless of price point, you're always
But
going to
I
have a
think
market
it's
for it.
also from people that have lived in apartments and
Yeah.
are conditioned to live without stairs. Like, that's what I think. Because I live in a side split. It's only a couple steps to everything.
You could be a lazy bastard like me.
Wow, you swore this time.
Bastard's
There-
not swearing.
It's biblical. Is that swearing? Is that
Yeah.
swearing to like
Us
50% of the
dude.
population? I guess. I say Jesus a lot, I guess. But it's like a couple stairs away from everything. So I think that I don't know. I just think that I don't know. I just think that our days on market is something to watch. I think that people talk a lot about price point. I think we really need to talk about days on market, because days on market gives you the real dipstick temperature of what the urgency is. So, but if I would say anything under 600, would you say, depending on what the finishes are
For what?
for houses in Guelph, detached homes?
I know, but you didn't finish the thought there.
Well,
Anything
Okay.
under
So-
600?
Anything under 600,000 would hold offers, depending on the finishes.
Yeah, I would say absolutely, unequivocally anything under 4.
I would say any.
Oh, 450 and under. Even
450.
500 and under.
There
Anything
goes
that's,
there.
because even 500 and under now is first time buyer territory.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And
to
which
me.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna take this moment of this brief pause while Sandy's computer is coming back on. I'm gonna dip out. I've got quite the headache going on, and
Oh.
She's gonna do her thing.
this is what I do.
This is what she does.
Okay.
At least I'm getting a goodbye this
I
time.
know. Normally, there's nothing. I just
Bye, Rebecca.
disappear.
Thanks, pal.
Thanks,
So
We
Rebecca
are-
got tired of us.
It's fine. But
Short story is we give migraines.
There it is. No, she's had one all day. I've been
Yeah,
giving
I
her
know.
one all day.
Yeah.
But I will say days on market is the dipstick. So if you are looking at it's not necessarily, when I talk to my sellers, it's not necessarily about what the price point is. It's about the days on market. So how many times did they have to reduce value? How many days on market they were. It's very important.
The one thing that you shouldn't look at, I don't think, as a litmus test is how much something else you were looking at went over asking.
Ooh,
Because
yeah, I know.
people do get caught up in that. They get caught up in the, oh, well, we saw this place and it went for X over asking, so that means that this place, which is similar, should also go for X over asking. You don't know what it was
Yeah.
about that particular place that appealed to the person who was willing to go that high over
Yeah.
asking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, it could have
And you
been,
also don't know
oh my
the
goodness, it still has
circumstances.
shag carpet. I love shag carpet. Like, I mean, it could be,
A sunken living room.
you have
I love a sunken living
no
room.
idea what somebody's willing to pay for. You only know what you're willing to pay for.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing.
And that comes back to buyers being the market. Like, and it's not a very popular conversation, but it's true. Buyers are the market, and I do. And then And it's all about managing expectations. I think that's what I had to talk about today. I was like trying to make my topics.
I think that's
touched
on
what
a lot
I
of what I
had.
wanted to talk about too.
And we did talk about earlier sellers. When should we talk? We touched on it a little bit about like I like to talk to you as far out as I can.
It's real simple. If you at all have any inkling about trading in real estate, if you at all, first off, mortgage wise, even if you have a mortgage, it never hurts to reach out and get a health check on your mortgage.
Yeah.
Right? Because
well, I'd like to say that people get health checks, but it's kind of like that. It's
It's
like booking a dental appointment, I guess.
So it does lead me to want to touch on one more thing. I do get that people believe rate is the be all and end all of mortgages, right? I want people to think about things this way. First off, that's like buying a car just based on the sticker price. So you would not buy the lowest price car and expect to get a Lexus value.
Right.
Right? And so mortgages do kind of work the same way. They have features, they have benefits, they have other ways that you're going to pay for it. And so being mindful of that is important. But if you have a mortgage and suddenly you see a rate advertised somewhere, that rate may not be for the mortgage you have. So if you're driving around in a Mazda CX-5 and you paid X, and suddenly somebody in a Hyundai is driving around, or you see a sticker price for a Hyundai that's less than what you paid for your Mazda CX-5, well, okay, that's not apples to apples. So just because you're seeing a rate, you have to ask the questions, what is that?
Right.
And I encourage people to do that. Like, ask. Say, well, hold on a second. I saw this advertised. Yes, you saw that advertised because that person's getting an insured mortgage where they're also paying insurance premiums, which means their monthly payments are this, whereas yours are this. Right? Yeah. So those, it's just kind of one of those things where, again, where we go back to the archaic way that the industry runs.
That's right. And also like old school thinking, right? Like if I'm reaching back to you or I'm reaching out to you to consult about things, it's because I know how my job works. Like I know what I need to know before you even think you need to know it. Like it's I've had people call me and be like, "Can you list my house in a month? We found the house of our dreams." I'm like,
I can try.
Oh, okay. There's so many things that need to happen right now. So if you're
the first is whiskey.
Well, I can't do that. Irish native, man. I'm telling you, it's wildfire. But beer for sure. Wine, yes. But the if you like even remotely feel like your house is uncomfortable for you or will be uncomfortable for your sometimes I sell someone a house and it was great and it fit their expectations for that time, but then kids come along, job changes like we were talking about before, and then all of a sudden it really doesn't. It's feeling like a little cramped or uncomfortable even 6 months or a year after we purchased it. Well, we need to have a conversation. Like, let's start talking about it before it becomes a thing. Like, before it becomes an urgency. And that's because I'm always thinking about, and just like you, and that's why we work together quite often, I'm always thinking about what's best for you. You know, what's best for your interests and your investment. So don't go replacing this or doing that. Let's talk about it first, especially if you're planning on selling it quickly.
You are an individual who has specific needs to you and your family or your partner or whatever your situation is. You are an individual who has your own financial history and budget and things like that. All of those things are absolutely okay. You should never feel the need to change that expectation because of the people that you're working with. You know, Sandy and I are probably the epitome of not being what the industry expects us to be, I think. I mean, I had somebody say to me, I actually did have somebody say to me, how do you expect someone to take you seriously when you're not wearing a shirt and tie?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, because anyone who knows me wouldn't take me seriously in a shirt and tie.
Oh my god.
Right?
I get
Like,
it all the
that's-
time.
like-
It's like somebody I was talking to, like, because we're interviewing, just so you know, if anybody's planning on getting their real estate license and is considering RE/MAX as a brokerage, we need someone and we would love to mentor you. We are busy. Our boards are full. I often people are like, well, why don't you do billboard ads, or why don't you do
Bus
ads,
Yeah.
or bus stop ads? And I'm like, because I don't know if you know where I come from, but I come from a place of people that use spray paint and craft products. That if I was...
I would have a mustache.
Oh, it would be glorious. Like, I should just... If I was to ever do a bus ad, you would see me already graffitied up and be like, I did it for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's done. I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
Like...
that actually would be a really good ad.
Right? Like, I just... it would not be pretty. Like, I would have people, like, rocking up with their props and doing, like, whole, like
Stage
videos,
photo
stage
stuff, like, yeah.
photos, and me getting older is for me and Ken, not for everybody else.
Speaking of bad ideas,
Okay.
I am doing comedy again.
Oh,
Uh,
good!
Yes. So I'll be
I
doing
missed it last time.
Rhythm and Brews in Cambridge, which is a wonderful brewery, on February 22nd.
Oh!
So there you go.
February 26th.
There you go.
Rhythm and Brews, I know Yuri. Do you know Yuri?
I don't know Yuri.
Yuri goes there all the time, so hello, Yuri. But
Awesome.
Yuri is always trying to get me there. He's a
place.
family friend of mine. He's practically my brother. He's my brother from another colored mother. Love you, Yuri. But I will absolutely let him know that I plan on being there that
Yeah,
night.
it's gonna be
and
fun. Fun
I
times.
will not miss it. I
Come
will
and laugh
not
with or
miss-
at me.
I will not miss heckling you. After you're done your set, because I respect it. I will heckle you after.
Okay.
I'll make my list of heckles.
It's just notes.
And then I'll get you to sit at the end of the bar, and then I will yell at you from
Okay.
the end of the bar. Just all of
That
my
will be
heckles. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're good here.
We're good here.
So the next time, I think we're going to do this probably the end of February.
Yep.
Rebecca won't be here because she'll be in Mexico.
Assuming Mexico's still there.
No, right? I actually don't like the fact that she's going. I'm a little nervous. So she's going away for 2 weeks. But you and I will get together and we'll do this again. And at that point in time, we're going to talk about condo
Yeah.
and land
That's
leases.
Condo and land lease are two good subjects to have about. And I think the other thing is, really, people send us your questions about condos
Yeah.
and send us your questions as first-time buyers. But I really want you to think about where you're hearing your information from.
I think that's important.
Because share that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's an important piece that we need to look at is where are you hearing your information from? Because the way things were done are not how they're done anymore.
No, I mean, like, what I was just at my mom's for dinner the other night. We were playing Yahtzee, because that's what we do. But we got talking about different ideas about mortgages and things like that. And, that's something we didn't talk about tonight, was how, maybe we'll bring it up next month, because it's a long conversation about how, something I hear all the time is how hard it is to get into the market right now. And we didn't bring it up this time. And
We didn't, and it's an important topic.
It's a very important topic.
So, if you think it's hard to get into the market, tune in.
Please come and talk
Send us
to
your
us.
questions, because
Come and talk to
that's
us.
an absolute fallacy.
It's a myth, and so here's the thing: is that there's not a lot. So there it is again.
It is.
But there's not a lot of realtors or mortgage brokers that will step up and tell you that it's actually not as hard as you think it is. It just seems like a more daunting number. $500,000 it's a lot of dollars. Like, that's a lot of dollars. But I promise you, it's easier to get in the market now than it was when your parents were.
Absolutely.
Like, even though they were buying houses at like $100,000 or $130,000, and actual houses, not condo, there are ways
They had to
get
put
into
20% down.
20%
and pay
down.
18% interest.
And here's another thing, odd concept. Our parents got married Like they actually like weddings with envelopes of money. And then the money was taken and not spent on,
That's
different
an interesting
things.
thing.
And they took the money and put it on a house so they could have babies.
Well,
And not that that was right. I'm not saying that was the right way to do things, but that was the culture at that time. And it seemed easier, but their parents were co-signing, their parents were handing them, I've been at weddings where people are handing people large envelopes of cash as gifts.
Well, I think it's funny that's one thing I want people to think about is
culturally
we are so comfortable with the fact that domestic relationships have changed and
It's changed.
our work expectations have changed and all of those things have changed, yet we expect real estate and mortgages to work the same as they did 20 years ago.
And it doesn't, not necessarily. It doesn't. But I would almost say that like my sons wanting to get into the market, they're all first-time home buyers. Like two of three of my almost all adult sons are first-time home buyers. They have more opportunity to buy a house than I did when I was their age. And I had my children young.
Agreed.
Right? So they actually have more of an opportunity. So like their dad and I were looking at buying places in Mississauga and we just couldn't make the down payment happen. And that was in the late 90s.
Yep.
We just couldn't make it happen. But now my 21-year-old son could make that happen. He could make it happen if he wanted to. Like if he really just buckled down for a little bit of time, like maybe a year, he could make it happen. He could definitely buy himself a place and he could rent the rooms out, show leases, and get a good approval for a townhouse. But then again, there's managing those expectations. He's not going to buy a detached home right out the gates, and he might have to pay a little in to get more out, but he's going to double his investment. Like all those things. So let's talk about that next time
let's
as
talk
well.
about that.
Because
All right.
I feel like this comes up all the time. I see it on Facebook. People posting things like, how are people supposed to get in the market? It's a little easier than it was for our parents or even me when my adult children were little. So I think we should talk about that next time.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see everybody in February. Send us your questions.
Yay.